I thought that if it's all right with you, we would start by how you start the book.
All right.
I was hoping you might just read that for us.
Sure. You will never know how much it costs the present generation to preserve your freedom. I hope you will make good use of it. John Adams.
Why'd you start the book with that quote?
And we wanted to show the kids the kind of courage it takes, not just to realize the Declaration's promises, begin to realize them through the Revolution, but to carry them forward and to realize them in our own times.
Do you think that we've taken some of those sacrifices for granted?
Yes. I think that we take our life, liberty, property rights, the right to rule ourselves, and we don't realize that most people through history did not have those rights. Most people in the world today don't have those rights. And it wasn't inevitable either, right? We almost lost the revolution. The vote for the Declaration of Independence was initially not unanimous. What are the Declaration's three big ideas? That we're all created equal, all of us. That we have rights that are given to us by God, not government, and that we have the right to rule ourselves. And yes, we take those things as given. We take them as the air we breathe, but they're not. They don't preserve themselves. We're not a nation united by religion or by culture or by heritage. That's our creed. And each generation has to choose that as their creed. And it has to be passed on for each generation to choose it anew. And I want kids today to see the challenge they face. The torch is about to pass to their hands. Are they going to carry it, or are they going to drop it?
The ideals and the foundation set in the Declaration paved the way for women to vote, the end of slavery.
Yes.
Why do you think people don't appreciate that?
Nations across the world have used it as a model of their own because it is perfect. The ideas are perfect. Why do we take it for granted? We don't teach the kind of civic virtues that are necessary for a republic to sustain itself.
Do you worry about that?
Sure, I worry about that.
Mm-hmm. More so now than ever?
Well, I try to remind myself that democracies are supposed to be a messy place, all right? That we're supposed to disagree.
But you know, even America 250 is divided. We've got competing events. How did we get to this place?
I think and what I guess I'm saying is, we've always been that place. Am I here to tell you that it's no worse? No, I'm not here to tell you that. But we're not living through the American Civil War. We're not living through the Revolutionary War. So, yeah, we have our hard times, but they feel hard to us because we're living them.
I do feel like there's a moment now where people feel like hopeless, like our country is in trouble.
And when
do you feel that way?
No, I don't. I mean, Jan, when I look at young people and talk to young people, I say, you are the luckiest people alive. Not just now, in the history of the world. Where would you rather have been born, and when would you rather have been born? You live in the freest nation in the world, in the history of the world. Is it perfect? No. I'm not here to tell you it's perfect, but I'm here to tell you it's awful good.
What is your goal here in doing this book and sitting down and doing these interviews?
It is to inspire young people to realize what a heritage they have and what a responsibility they have, right? And do I worry, Jan? Yeah, of course I do. I worry when I see that maybe 13% of eighth graders are proficient in American history, 22% in civics. Of course I worry. I worry about America fulfilling its own promise, right? And we are our own worst enemies. But are these things fixable? Of course they're fixable. Of course they're fixable. Teachers, parents, children, we can do this.
You know, polls show that most Americans have lost faith in their institutions. Does that trouble you?
I think that same thing was true again back in 1776. Only 40% of Americans wanted to declare independence. We're a disagreeable lot. We're also incredibly litigious. I mean, 50 million people file lawsuits in this country every year. Yeah, that's part of the American culture. That's part of who we are.
What about at the court? I've covered the court a long time, and it does seem more divided now. I do see justices writing a little differently and saying things publicly a little differently. Do you feel that at the court?
Do we disagree on hard cases? Yes, Jan, we do. You give us the 70 hardest cases in the entire American legal system every year. That's our diet. There are 9 of us, appointed by 5 different presidents over the course of 30 years. Can you get 9 of your best friends to agree on where to go to lunch? Okay, all right. So you give us those 70 cases. We're unanimous about 40% of the time. Right. Where lower court judges have
sometimes higher than that.
How does that happen? It happens because we listen to one another. Go around the room, each of us has our say. I've never heard a voice raised in the conference room.
Never.
Never. And wait for it. In 1945, the numbers were almost exactly the same, what I've given you. Nothing has changed around here. Nothing. So if we're doing as well as they did then, I think we're doing okay. And for whatever disagreements we have about law, and you're right, Justice Breyer is never going to convince me not to be an originalist, okay? It's not going to happen. What unites us far outstrips what divides us. Each of my colleagues loves the Declaration of Independence, loves the Constitution of the United States, and is eager for young people to take up the challenge to learn about them.
What are some of those things that you do that we don't see at the court where you do have agreement?
Yeah, I often think how much I'd like for you to have some of these cameras in our conference room.
I would like that too.
I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would.
And even in the courtroom.
It would be a terrible idea in the conference room, because the conference room is where we speak most freely about law.
That's where the 9 of you sit around the table, no law clerks, no secretaries, just the 9 of you.
That's right. It's just the 9 of us. And it's where we're talking about the case after we've heard argument, read briefs, and done all our homework, and we listen. And it goes around one by one. You don't interrupt one another. You listen. Everybody gets their say. And it's remarkable as the conversation progresses, you'll see the idea getting narrower to the nub of the issue, to where we can all find some agreement. And oftentimes I walk into the conference room thinking, I don't know where this thing's going to land. And it winds up 9-0. Okay?
40 to 50% of the time.
Right, so much. And if you had a camera and the American people could see that, I think they would be enormously proud. There's something really quite magical about it.
Magical.
It works. We're very different people from very different parts of the country who believe in how to interpret law very differently. Not politics, law. Originalism versus living constitutionalism, textualism versus purposivism, a bunch of isms that nobody cares about, but they have to do with how we view our jobs. We view them differently, but it works, and it's worked for 250 years.
You know, the president is constantly taking shots at the court, and especially the 3 of you, and you, because there are times where you are not in lockstep, as you've said. He is constantly tweeting things. The other day he said, you're showing very little loyalty to the man who appointed the 3 of you. I mean, does a justice owe a president loyalty?
No. My loyalty is the Constitution and laws of the United States. That's the oath I took. It's really just that simple. Yeah, there's a reason why our Constitution is set up the way it is, right? Think about it. You've given 9 old people life tenure. But you give them life tenure if you believe their job is only to apply the law fairly without regard to anybody or anything else or politics or any of the noise. And then
just immune from external forces.
Immune from it. Yeah. That's why the Constitution is set up the way it is with respect to judges. And I think it works. And so do I care people say left, right, center about me? Nah.
There's been tremendous pushback. And now we have calls for reform. We have calls for additional justices. Just a court of 9, is that the way it should be? It's not always been that way.
We've had 9 since about 1860-something, and it's worked reasonably well, as Ruth Ginsburg said. It's like all of our institutions that we've been talking about here. Do you know their history? You may have some great ideas about reforming things, and they might be right, but make sure you know what you're reforming before you tinker with it.
Because once you start tinkering.
And once you start tinkering, you expect other people to tinker. And then where does it end?
Same with the issue of life tenure. I mean, we've seen term limits proposed.
Sure. Anything. The Constitution all of those decisions were made thoughtfully and for reasons. And if you don't know them, if you haven't thought about them and understood their history and the consequences, be careful about what genies you let out of bottles.
Well, let me just get back to the children's book. Why are justices writing children's books now? You're not the only one.
No, I take my inspiration from Sandra Day O'Connor, who, during her tenure in the court, fellow Westerner, became concerned about the state of civic education in this country and decided, dang it, she's going to do something about it. And she wrote children's books, and she set up an organization to teach children. And I can't pretend I'm Sandra Day O'Connor, all right? Nobody is. But I sure admired her. And so I guess I'm taking a bit of a cue from her.
And trying to take that message that civics are important to the American people, starting with the kids.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's something, if you pulled the 9 of us in our conference room, we'd all agree on.
You would be unanimous on the importance of civics.
Yeah, I believe so.